up, my name's Samuel Leeds. I'm a property investor, and in this video, I want to answer all of my subscribers' property investment questions. So if you're a subscriber to this channel and you like my videos, please do me a favor, hit the like button, but more importantly, in the comment box, comment your property investment questions, and I'll do my best to answer your questions for next week's Q&A Sunday video. If it's niggling, maybe it's been holding you back, you're struggling on a deal, you need a little bit of support, or maybe you are stuck on what something means. You've been hearing a piece of jargon, or you need some help with structuring a deal, understanding lease options, rent to rent, any question that you have, no matter how basic or complex, comment it below and I will do my best to answer it for next week. If you are not a subscriber of the channel, then please subscribe and then hit your comment below in the comment box and I'll answer your question too. And I look forward to seeing what questions you've got. In the meantime, what did we have last week? So we had a guy called Vito, who I believe is a subscriber, and Vito said, I'm in the middle of purchasing my first property thanks to your videos. Hope to be on Winners on a Wednesday in a couple of months. Well done. Anyway, I tried to land a lease option agreement, but instead agreed on a different type of rent to buy deal. It's a no money down deal. I'll be paying off the property in a course of 7 years. As someone who's never bought a house before, would you recommend I open a limited company to do this or in my own name? Great question, Vito. So firstly, you've done the hard bit, my friend. The fact that you've secured a no money down deal where you're going to be buying now and paying over the course of the next 7 years. Absolutely brilliant. Congratulations. I have no doubt to see you on Winners on a Wednesday. In terms of should you buy in a company or in your personal name, it's more of a tax. It depends on I don't know your situation. I don't know if you're a high rate taxpayer. If you're a high rate taxpayer, then definitely limited company. There are tax savings to this. Also, if it's like a delayed sale, it might make sense to have a company set up. But I would probably say you've done the hard bit. Pick up the phone, have a conversation with a property accountant, tell them about the deal, and they'll be able to advise you best and take into account all of your situation. But massive respect, buddy, and well done. Let me know how that goes. Smith Jones. I recently purchased my first buy-to-let through auction. Congratulations, another subscriber. If you're not subscribed, by the way, subscribe and hit your question below. I paid £45,000 cash with a sitting tenant. The rent is paid directly from the local housing authority every 4 weeks. However, when I purchased, there was no tenancy agreement. Should I be worried? Also, what's the best way for me to buy my next property, i.e. refinance or saving rental income and my wages from work to buy my next property? I've learned so much from you. Thanks for reply in advance. So Smith, well done for taking action. Super excited to see how that goes. Should you be worried? I wouldn't be worried, but it is a problem. Buying a house from auction and the tenants aren't you haven't got their contract, maybe the previous landlord lost the tenancy agreement or something like that, it is a little bit of a concern because if you haven't got a tenancy agreement, when you complete on the house, effectively those tenants are almost like squatters. Also the council, who are they paying? Are they paying the previous landlord? So you're going to need to get that switched over so they start paying you. Really important. I have had this situation before and I've never had an issue. What I've done is I've approached the tenants and I've gone, hey, I'm going to be completing on the property next week. Good to meet you. Really nice to them. Check the properties out. Is there anything that needs fixing? Are you okay? Be really sweet to them. And then say, oh, obviously, we're going to need to switch the agreements over so that you're dealing with me direct. I'm going to be looking after you. Really, really looking forward to it. Would it be all right if I come round with the new contract next week and then we can get that signed out ready and then I'll be your point of contact? And normally, if they know the house is being sold and you're the new, they normally will just go, yeah, man, sure. But if they don't, if they go, no, I'm not signing it, no, you might have some problems. So fingers crossed. Kazim Shakir. Firstly, I want to say thank you for answering my previous question. You're welcome, man. Just a follow-up question. Can I do whatever I want with the money received from refinancing? What I mean is, I'm currently a higher rate taxpayer, so I want to set up a new limited company. Loan the money I get from the lender to that company and make future purchases via the company. Am I allowed to do that? Kazim, yes, I see no problems with you doing that. Listen to some of these questions about limited companies and tax and things like that, just to say, my guidance on this video is of course general guidance from my experience. So I can't give you like tax advice or anything like that. I can only speak from my experience. So do always get solicitors and accountants to look at your situation when you're purchasing properties and loaning money. However, Kazim, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do that at all. I've done that many, many times. If you refinance a property, you pull out the equity, you can do what you want with that money. You go on holiday with the money, it'd be stupid to do that. You can buy, you can loan it to a company and then buy. So yeah, and it's tax-free because when you refinance, that money is debt. So you're not gonna get taxed on debt. So good stuff, and let me know how it goes. All right, Salahuddin Imran. Can you flip houses on a residential mortgage, or do you have to pay early termination penalty? Please can someone advise? Salahuddin Imran, if you buy a property on a residential mortgage, normally that mortgage will be fixed. So you won't be able to pay the mortgage off for a minimum of 1 to 2 years. That's about standard. So if you're buying a property and the intention is to flip it, I would just say probably just wait a year or two before you sell it. Otherwise, you are going to get charged early payment fees. Because if a mortgage company is lending you, say, 100 grand to buy a house, and they're saying, pay me 3% back per year. And in their minds, they're going to be making 3 grand a year. But then after 6 months, if you just go, here's your money back, and here's your £1.5 grand interest, it's not worth the paperwork for them. It's not worth taking you on as a customer, messing around for £1.5 grand. So they're going to want you to commit to borrowing that money for at least X amount of months. So if you do pull out early, they might charge it. You're not going to pay a load of money. You might pay a couple of grand. So it's not, if you're doing flips on a residential mortgage, that's fine. In fact, it's probably the best way to do it. Because on a residential mortgage, you're going to put down a very small deposit, so you're not tying up much money. Also, if you're living in the property, you're not going to pay any capital gains tax when you sell the property, which also is a massive bonus. If you do get hit with a small early repayment charge, it's not a massive deal, depending on the profit in the deal, but it might just be worth waiting a little bit longer to sell it and then avoiding that fee. Hope that helps. If you're enjoying the video, folks, hit the like button. If you have questions, subscribe to the channel and go ahead and comment your questions in the chat box. James Cassidy, do you generally have to leave 25% of the value of the house in the property when remortgaging? The answer is yes. If it's a buy-to-let, that's very standard. However, 25% of the value of the house, you can increase the value of the house. So if you're refinancing a house that's worth 100 grand, you're gonna be able to borrow 75%, namely £75,000 of the value, which is 100 grand. But if you buy the house for 100, but then you increase the value by doing something like maybe title splitting the property or fixing an issue, or if the property is unmortgageable because there's no kitchen or there's no hot water, if you buy a property 100 grand and then fix the problem and then push the value up to 150, you're then going to be able to borrow 75% of the new higher value. So that's the strategy. That's what we do. I hope that helps. All right, last question. Charles Royal. If I have 10 grand spare, how should I spend it? Well, first thing is you shouldn't spend it. If you've got 10 grand, don't spend it. You should invest it. There's a big difference between investing money and spending money. So how should you invest it? Well, I would probably say if you've got 10 grand, rather than putting that 10 grand down as a down payment to buy a house, let's face it, 10 grand isn't enough to buy a house. If you've got 10 grand, Even if you buy a really cheap house, you can't find house, I mean, what's the cheapest house in the country? 30, 35 grand? But you won't get a mortgage on a house that cheap. So if it's 40, 50 grand, one's gonna need more than 10 grand, especially with your stamp duty and your legals. So 10 grand won't even get you the cheapest house. You just can't buy a house for 10 grand. Even if you could, even if you had 20 grand, I'd be like, well, it might be just enough to buy a house, which is then gonna make you 200 quid a month profit. Whoopee, it's not hardly life-changing. My advice, if you've got 10 grand, rather than investing it into a property, I would invest it into your property business. I would put it into setting up a rent-to-rent business, a deal sourcing business. I'd put some of it into your education. I'd put some of it into getting your website drawn up, down payments on a rent-to-rent. I would be putting that 10 grand to get yourself an up and running cash flowing, cash producing business. And then your business is going to start making you cash flow more than 10 grand. And that 10 grand, that cash flow, I would then start investing that into something that's going to give you passive income. As a property investor, you can either invest money or you can be a property entrepreneur and you can make money with property. And I think you should do both. So I'd put that 10 grand into a property cash producing business. And then with that money, invest it and slowly build up passive income over time as well as active income. Hope that makes sense. If you need any more help, comment below in the chat box. Or if you want to join me at one of my up and coming property investment training courses, guess what? Most of my training courses are free. And if you want to come and meet me, spend a day together, come down to some training courses, then below, I'll leave a link in the description on the house. Come and meet me. Let's train you up. Let's see you getting some results. And thank you so much for watching this video. Subscribe, hit like, and I'll see you on the training program real soon. Peace.